our second speaker is Dzmitry Tolpekin, and he's, well, actually, he's sitting right in front of me over here. We're in the same room. And well, we've been working together for several years now. And right now, Dima is leading the development of the Surfly proxy and the JavaScript sandbox here at Surfly. But the true story goes that before joining Surfly, he has single-handedly developed a very similar solution that in some cases worked even better than ours. So we were definitely very happy to hire him several years ago. And I'm personally very excited about this talk because he's going to share some black magic with us, some practical tricks on JavaScript debugging. So yeah, please welcome Dzmitry Tolpekin. The floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Maxim, for this warm introduction. I'm really touched. And let me share my screen. Okay, yeah, so Max already presented me, and today I want to talk with you about debugging JavaScript. Basically, the thing that I suppose most of the listeners do, maybe even on everyday basis. So yeah, I'm gonna cover a few topics from console.log to some more advanced tricks or techniques. So let's just continue. Starting our presentation, accepting the terms. Okay, probably not accepting. Let's check what's going on here. So this button is expected to start the presentation. We have simple on-click handler that goes to this function. And very convenient, we already have some logging here. And if terms are not accepted, it's expected to do nothing. Otherwise, it should navigate. But terms, we accepted the term, so it should be true. And in console, we actually see that, okay, it's not true, it's on, not what we want. And let's check where this terms accepted goes. We initialize it here, and then it's expected to be changed here. Oh, sorry guys, sorry. I'm gonna fix this one. I hope pretty fast. The debugger goes here. Yeah, in Chrome, you basically can edit the code right in the browser. It not always works smooth, but why I did that, I don't know. I just reloaded the page. The debugger goes here. And we're gonna check why this terms accepted is not equals to true when we save the file. And yeah, now finally the breakpoint works. And we can see that a value of the terms checkbox is on. Not exactly what we expected. If I'm not mistaken, in checkbox, we should actually have some other property like checked. Yeah, checked. That's what we need here. We fix our code and then we can continue with the presentation. We can remove the breakpoint, save the file, and now, yeah, the magic just worked. And here you saw basically the kind of default way of debugging JavaScript when you actually have access to the code. You can just put console.logs or debugger statements wherever you feel like putting them. And that's it. I hope everybody knows and uses that. No need to stop on this anymore. But one trick I want to show you is that you can use debugger in combination with Settimeout right in browser console. Why do you need this, you may ask? And you may need this when you want to debug some annoying, sometimes auto-closing models or drop-downs or wherever. Like here we have one here with a nice dock, and we have a button that, as you can see, is not working. I'm clicking it very hard, And we want to debug it. The process should be straightforward. You press here, but the model is gone. You press again, and you're just not fast enough to catch it. Okay, we still can use inspect. Yeah, okay, so now we see on the right, like the code. No, it's gone once again. So we can see the model, it's here, but once the mouse leaves the document, it disappears. And that is the case when using debugger with Settimeout may be extremely helpful. We just run it, we open the model that we want to debug. Nice, we finally stopped, and we can use just regular debug tools that we used to. And we once again see simple on-click handler with a grammar mistake. I think it should go like that. And let's hope that it will work. Nice. Okay, so that one is working with a small magic of Settimeout and debugger statement. Let's continue. So next, I think the most important topic here is just the regular breakpoints that we have in JavaScript code. I should have some JavaScript code here where we can play with it a little bit. Let's remove all the breakpoints that I had before. Sorry for that. Yeah. So here we go, some JavaScript code, and in most cases, it just right-click on the line, add breakpoint. That one I also believe should be familiar to you. It just stops on this line wherever you press the button. We also have conditional breakpoints in the Chrome, and I think it's most of the major browsers, maybe even in IE11. Here you can actually write some condition. If that condition will be true, then the debugger, like the breakpoint, will actually fire. So let's do the opposite condition to what we have here. Yes, and it fired. So our condition was no matter what. Basically, it's fired because the result of the expression that we had here returned true. Also, we have log points, which is same console.log statement, but in form of a breakpoint. Pretty straightforward to use. Yeah, we see our message that I put here. And the last but not the least is never pause here. So you can see that we have this debugger statement that already actually annoyed me quite a lot. And we can quite easily put never pause here, and then it will never fire. Sometimes it's very convenient when you already have tons of the breakpoints in your project and debugger statement. You just put it here and it works. And it also works with code with pause on code and uncode exceptions. So now I activated this breakpoints in the top right corner. And if I press the button, now we have breakpoint here inside try catch and in throw outside of the try catch. It works completely the same way. We just put never pause here, and we can leave without annoying breakpoints that we don't want to have. Yeah, that's it. And the trick that I have here is executing the code without actually stopping with conditional breakpoints. And I believe, yeah, we cannot proceed to the next slide unless we resolve another. What happened? I don't know. Unless we resolve another issue here. Yes, it's not working. Next button just not does anything. So let's debug it and try to find out what's wrong there and how our trick will help us. So this time event listener is assigned to the button object, not as on-click attribute, but still we can easily navigate to the code, and we have the handler of the button. Well, it's also pretty straightforward. We have a Boolean variable declared. If it's not false, then we have alert that we already saw, and default behavior of the click is prevented and navigation is not happening. So basically, we don't want this code to be executed. And I think the most straightforward way to achieve it is just to change the allowed variable, which we can actually achieve with conditional breakpoint. So yeah, as listed in the slide, we can just do allowed equals to false, and then just return false once again. So, okay, no, we need true, sorry. We need true and we return false. So this code, this breakpoint will actually never fire, but this code will be always executed. That's the point. So we changing the value, but we don't want to actually pause. So it's just like a hotfix, a patch that we apply to the code. And let's see, yeah, it just works. And the best part that I like about that kind of fixes, that it works even if you reload the page. It just stays there, which is nice. Okay, so next topic that I wanted to cover is like other breakpoints that we have in our DevTools. First is DOM breakpoints, which you can activate in Elements panel. You can quite easy use a break on subtree modification, attribute modification, or node removal. So if, for example, some button that you're interested in modified, some code is changing this attribute, you just break on attribute modification and it's done. In next moment, any other code will touch attributes of your nice button, it will fire and you will easily catch this. Next one is XC char and fetch breakpoints. When you want to stop on any HTTP request that come in from your page, well, not any, but just XC char and fetch, you can just do that and you will catch all the requests. You can also apply some basic string filters on this if you want just a specific request. Very convenient in some specific cases. The last but not the least is event listener breakpoints that we have under event listener breakpoints. What a surprise. Yeah, until like 2 days ago, I actually thought that this section is quite useless because you have just irregular events, same as you have on a page, like keyboard events, what else, mouse events, everything that you can assign like listeners to the document or body by yourself, but you have a separate tab in DevTools. But except of those, you also have very convenient tools that are not present anywhere else. For example, you can pause on set timeouts or when the set interval is fired, something very specific, and that can save you a ton of your time just by doing one click. Yeah, quite a lot of interest in there. It makes sense just to look through all of those, like Windows, close, script, first statement that will stop on execution of the first line of any script of the page. Like even here, if I just reload the page, yeah, you see that a script, we've got a breakpoint on the script that was executed even before any of elements is loaded. And I believe that should be one of the web extensions that are executed before page load. Just a very fancy tool that also can be very helpful in a very specific situation. Let's continue. Yes. The next one is I found very interesting is a property breakpoints. The first interesting fact about that one is that it's implemented only in Firefox. So to have a small demo, we need to switch the browser to a different one. Yeah, hello Firefox. Yeah, and the slide is broken here. You see it's same page, but styles are different and the content is different. So it's a nice chance to investigate what actually happened here and how property breakpoints can be useful. We can see that error content is loaded, and we also have a couple of templates with article and error. Yeah, like error template is the same content that we have here, so most likely it came from this template to the main document. Somehow, let's find the usages maybe of this ID to find where it was used. In Firefox, well, and in Chrome itself, you can just use Ctrl+Shift+F or Command-Shift+F to search for any string in any part of in any source code of the document. And yeah, we see the small strange snippet which is flying somewhere in the air. Let me try again. It just looks weird. Okay, wherever. We see a small snippet. I think HTML page was not rendered for some reason, but yeah, it should be located. Yes, on our HTML page it's here, and in sources it's here, which basically does get element by ID of our templates and saves them to some variables that I believe should be used somewhere in another places of code. So let's find the usage of this template error. Same search and no results. So we are in a situation when we know that some interesting properties are located here and they are later in code somehow used in the document. But we can't find these usages, and this is the place where we can try to use property breakpoints. Yes, okay, so we have a debugger during the page loading, no content is still on the page.
Try to increase the zoom.
Okay, let me try to increase the zoom so you can see more. Yeah, so we have a breakpoint here, and what we can see that in window we have templates object with the properties that we are interested in, and in Firefox we can just right click on it, use break on, and we are particularly interested in property get. So we do this, and now wherever anybody accesses template error property of our object, then the breakpoint is expected to fire. Let's check this. We continue execution, and yes, we've got the code that we're interested in that actually loads an error template. And it's interesting because you can see the normal template is loading, but I believe, yeah. So what happens here, we have DOM content loaded event that expected to load article, then load some styles, and if something went wrong, the error template will be shown. So we go up to stack to this place, so we can check what is the actual error that happened. Yeah, we can access the properties in console, very convenient, and it's illegal constructor in this line. Okay, so we tried to use new fancy experimental CSS style sheet constructor in Firefox, but it's only present in Chrome and Chromium-based drivers browsers at the moment. So yeah, okay, it's failed. It's kind of expected. We need to design our page better next time. But we still want to see the slide, and I think we can just execute load template with article. Okay, and that should be enough for us. So we saw like the power of property breakpoints that can lead you to the places where interesting properties were used, like the simplicity of just simple breakpoints. And if you look how it's implemented, if you want to look how it's implemented, you can call getOnProperty descriptor on interesting property with this breakpoint, and you will see that Firefox actually inserts their own getter and setter that stops your code. And the nice thing about that is that you can easily implement it by yourself. I have a small code snippet here. Let's try to use it. So we declare an object with property, and then we redefine this property with debugger statements in getter and setter. So now I believe if I will just do object.prop. Yes, now we catch, we caught this access of the property. That's nice because that approach can be used in any browser, not only Firefox, and you can also insert any extra code needed. You can have like a hotfixes, patches, or wherever you like to continue your debugging process. Yeah, that's kind of it with property breakpoints. Let's go to the next slide, which is native overrides. Let's remove this. Yeah, native overrides is basically same it's the same approach of rewriting properties and functions, but regardless the native browser APIs. We kind of have a nice candidate here with this annoying alert firing every 3 seconds. I don't want this to happen, so I can stop it. I can just replace the alert function in the window. It should be as simple as as this. Yes, we just replaced alert with null, and now we can see that error happened. The code that was firing this annoying messages just failed to do that. But instead of replacing this null, you can also put a function with a breakpoint to some extra logic to catch this exact place where it happened. Yeah, very simple and convenient. And it looks like to unlock the content of our form, we also need to complete some subscription form. Okay. Well, okay, this form looks also quite broken. Yeah, backspaces just add backspace text to the input, not what we expected. Okay, and we actually need a proper value here. So what have we got? We have an input, and somebody or something, some code corrupts the value of this input. It works fine with the text, but if I press any special keys like Shift backspace, yeah, add symbol, it's totally broken. So let's try to investigate who actually does this. This happens on some key event, I expect, because yeah, with mouse, I can easily interact with the input, but it's still annoying. So let's check the events that we have here. And okay, so on input itself, there are no event listeners. On ancestors of the input event, there are quite a lot of event listeners, so it's kind of a dead end, and we still want to fix this input to proceed with our subscription that we never asked for, but let's move on. So let's check this input element. We can store it as a global variable, so we can have the input object as a temp1. And we are particularly interested in value field of this input. We can try to use same technique as on previous slide. We can override the getters and setters for the value of this input. So in any moment when somebody will try to access or change this value, we will catch it. Sounds good, sounds like a plan. Let's do that. So we will need something like object define property. temp1 is our input, value is our property, and we need get with debugger inside and set, basically same. Okay, so what we've got is an input with replaced value property. So now we expect that if anything like not native will try to access this input. Oh, that actually just happened. Yeah, so I press the button and we can now see who does this. It says it's from jQuery 3.6. I'm not sure if it's a native behavior of this library, but let's see. Yeah, something definitely wrong with this function. And yeah, we want to not change the value here. How we can do this? Okay, if we change the sanitize email variable here to false, I believe this code will never be executed, and maybe we will be able to see the content of the slide. Yes, we've got a setter breakpoint in the same place. Yeah, because we have get and set, yeah, in the same one. Okay, and now it's not working. Yeah,
You didn't hit enter in the console.
Oh yeah, sorry. I forgot to submit my code here. So let's go here and yeah, sanitize email should be false, not return false, no Chrome, just false. Done. Let's try again. Just letter, just backspace. Yeah, it finally works. So we just fix this email input. And done. Yeah, we finally got the content of the slide. Now a lot of new information. So yeah, we already did rewriting of alert function to something that we want. And this approach can be used with any native functions if you want to debug or trace who uses them. And with native properties, in this example, we just rewrited an value property on the input object. But in some cases, you may need to do the same on the prototype of the input element class. That is one level deeper, but in that case, you will be like 100% sure that no code can reach the real value of the input without you knowing that. Yeah, and the trick of the day is console.trace. That allows you to see where this code, this console.trace was called from. It's very convenient to use it in combination with conditional breakpoints, where you can just add console.trace like here. So, and basically trace where this or that function is called from. The same can be achieved with ur.stack. It gives you the stack trace of the current place where this code was executed. And the nice thing that you can actually work with the stack as with just a plain string. For example, if the stack trace includes some function that you are interested in, and once again, you can put this in conditional breakpoint. And in that case, this conditional breakpoint will only break when in stack trace we have some probably function named function. So you can break on condition of like who called this function. Very special case, but once again, one day it may save you a few hours of debugging, so why not? And yeah, that's kind of all slides that I had for you. And yeah, the question that you may ask, like, why? Why do you need like all this kind of breakpoints, overrides, descriptors and stuff when we just have console.log that is applicable in most cases? And the answer for this question is comes to like my own belief that debugging JavaScript code is very much like investigation of adventure. So you never know how you will end this process, what you will find, and when you actually find the reason of any puzzling bug, you usually enjoy yourself because you achieve that. And that is fun until the moment when you stuck. And when you're stuck and you don't want how to proceed, the code seems to be like just not working and you don't know what to do. That is not the best feeling in the world. And to have this feeling as like rare as possible, it's very useful to know like all technologies and techniques like that can help you in particular situation. And of course, what I have told you about is not enough. The dev tools in modern browsers are like huge with a lot of tabs and a lot of useful functionality. So yeah, I recommend you to visit Chrome DevTools documentation. They have a lot of information and articles and tutorials about how to do stuff in a browser. Of course, if it's applicable for you. If you can live a jolly life using console.log, then go ahead. You're a happy person, I think. Yeah, that's kind of it. That's everything that I wanted to tell you about.
Awesome.
Yeah, so does anyone have any questions for Dimo? Then a question from me. So, well, you touched a little bit upon the Firefox. How does it work in Safari? Can you do these things? Is it something that we should avoid at all costs, or?
Well, it's a good question. Don't think that I can properly answer for that one because I just don't use Safari. Yeah, I don't have Mac. I believe most of that tricks should be available there just because it's like DevTools. It's quite plain, especially the ones that you can use just in console, like overriding prototypes, accessing property descriptors. It's just JavaScript. It's nothing about DevTools. And yeah, these approaches are like browser agnostic.
Cool.